Starting off this countdown, we have Spring-Heeled Jack. Was Spring-Heeled Jack a mere legend to scare kids and adults, or was he actually a real person? You decide. So back in Victorian England, they had to worry about this terrifying man that would visit homes in the middle of the night. This man would ring the doorbell, and when someone would answer it, he would attack them. He was given the name Spring-Heeled Jack as witnesses said he had the ability to jump great distances and heights. Victims say he looked like a man dressed in red shoes and armor. Others claim he would wear loose-fitting black clothes with a helmet. He was also described as having a wicked smile. The very first sighting of Spring-Heeled Jack was in October of 1837. A woman named Mary Stevens was walking in her town when a tall man in a coat jumped down from a building right in front of her. He then attacked her and even tried to kiss her. Kinda weird. Someone heard her screams of terror and thankfully came to her rescue. They both saw Jack leap away. After this, more and more women fell victim to Jack. One in fact described him as wearing a very tight-fitted outfit that resembled white oilskin. Well, what if it wasn't an outfit he was wearing, but that was his cold, pale alien skin? This, along with the fact that he could leap and jump high and far distances, is what led people to believe Jack might have been an alien. Moving on to number 9, we have the Lightning Man. Roy Cleveland Sullivan was a well-known forest ranger in Virginia for one reason. He had an attraction to lightning. Over his years, he had been struck by lightning 7 times. 7. And every time, he has been pretty much left uninjured. How is that even possible unless he's not a human? So the first time he got struck was in 1942. He was completely fine, he just lost a nail off of his big toe. Then 27 years later he got struck again. The only thing that happened to him this time was he lost the hair on his eyebrows. Then in 1970 he was struck again. His only injury was a small burn on his left shoulder. In 1972 it happened again and his hair was set on fire. So on and so on. So first off, why does lightning seem to be attracted to him? And 2, how has he managed to survive every strike? Well, there are a couple of theories out there. One is that maybe he's an alien. Maybe his alien buddies from space keep zapping him with their space lasers trying to get him to come back home. And that's why he's never killed. He's not even human at all. He's an alien. In our 8th spot today we have Akhenaten. And if you guys are liking this video so far, then smash that like button. It's believed that Pharaoh Akhenaten was not only in contact with aliens that were controlling him, but that maybe he was an alien himself. Now, if you look at the way he was depicted in ancient Egyptian drawings, it was different than all the other pharaohs and gods. They were often depicted as majestic gods, you know, they were good looking and they were muscular. Akhenaten is drawn the opposite. He's drawn with an elongated face and head, a long neck, small ribs, and a protruding belly. Why would they draw him like this? It must have been an accurate depiction of what he actually looked like, or else that's just insulting. The main fact that people were fixated on though was his elongated skull. Yes, back in the day some cultures would reshape their heads and faces, but they aren't able to add density to their heads. Akhenaten had a disproportionately large head that could not have been created by skull reshaping. So a number of people believe that Akhenaten was an alien, and he was sent down to rule ancient Egypt. Coming in at number 7 we have Osiris. The depictions of Osiris were always quite unusual because he was drawn with green skin. As a result, people think that he's out of this world. What else has green skin? Aliens. For starters, Osiris was the god of the underworld. He was a symbol of death and resurrection. As a result, he was depicted as a mummified bearded king holding a shepherd's crook and whip. According to a famous legend, he was actually killed by his brother who tore his body into 14 pieces. But in the end, he was resurrected by his wife. Now, if this story is true and not an actual myth, isn't it suspicious that a man with green skin died and then magically came back to life? As a result, a number of people believe that he was indeed an alien. In our 6th spot today we have Nina Kulagina. Nina Kulagina was famous in the 1960s for having psychic powers. She had the powers of telekinesis, so she could move objects using her mind. On a number of occasions she demonstrated her powers in front of people. She would place an object on the table and would be able to move it from one end to another. Obviously you had skeptics, so every time she performed this trick, she was carefully observed. She was able to move matches, small boxes, and cigarettes. Even the Russian military got involved and would study her. In the end, she was actually recruited by the Soviet government to work for them. So how could it be that this woman had these powers? Maybe it's because she's an alien. We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with George Gurdjieff. George was a 20th century mystic and philosopher. He was known for teaching something known as the fourth way. Basically, he believed that humans had a way to become more elite, that we just needed to awaken to a higher state of consciousness, and then we would be able to achieve full human potential. So the fourth way taught his disciples all about this. He talked about how we need to free our soul and increase and focus our intention to prevent absent-mindedness. From there, we would be a step closer to becoming a more elite form of humans. Now, what's eerie is that he never talked about the origins of his teachings. He wanted it all to be discreet. In fact, there are no traces of the schools he even went to. So what's the deal with this guy? Was he an alien trying to help humans advance or what? Moving on to number 4, we have Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci was a great, intelligent, and super talented artist and inventor. In fact, some believe that he was a little too intelligent for his time. So they believe he was an alien that was sent to Earth from space to help humans advance. For example, he proposed many modern day inventions in the late 1400s. That's hundreds of years before they were actually created. He came up with the idea of a tank, helicopters, submarines, self-propelled carts, aka cars, and machine guns. Maybe he already knew all about these inventions because aliens, being the advanced species that they are, already created them. Da Vinci's goal was then to share his insight on these inventions with the world. The only question is, why would the aliens want to help us? Coming in at number 3, we have Amelia Earhart. Amelia was a well-known American aviator who set numerous flying records. She is one of the most well-known explorers, and her disappearance has caused ongoing wonder. In 1937, Amelia set out with her navigator, Fred Noonan, to fly around the world. They were last heard from on July 2nd, 1937. 2 years later, she was declared dead. However, they never found her body. They just assumed that their plane crashed somewhere in the Pacific Ocean. Nonetheless, they still spent 15 years looking for the pair. In fact, searching for Earhart was the largest and most expensive search in American history. Now, there's this absolutely wild theory out there that Amelia and Fred were both aliens, and they actually set out on this mission with no intentions of ever coming back. They actually needed to get back to their home planet, which is why their plane or bodies have never been found to this day. In our second spot today, we have the magical healer. John D. Reese of Ohio was known for having the touch of God. Just by touching people, he had the power to heal a number of injuries and maladies. It all started in 1887. One of his friends fell off of a ladder and seriously injured his spine. His physician took a look at it and declared he had a severe spinal strain, but it was miraculously cured one day when Reese, for some reason, ran his fingers up and down the man's back. Instantaneously, the man's pain was gone and he was able to get up and move around no problem. Another person he healed was a shortstop of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He suffered a bad back injury mid-game and actually had to be carried out from the field. Again, John ran his fingers up and down his spine and he was magically cured. He also cured a politician's weak hand and wrist from overuse. Doctors told him he needed to rest his hand for weeks to get the strength back, but John touched his hand and it was instantly better. So this dude must have been an alien with magical powers or something, because how else could he cure people in an instant? And in our number 1 spot today, we have Count of Saint Germain. This guy is undeniably one of the most mysterious men in history. So Saint Germain was a philosopher that apparently had the ability to teleport, levitate, and walk through walls. Not only that, he's said to be immortal. Apparently he discovered the secret of alchemy and created an elixir that would grant eternal life to whoever drank it. Now, we don't know much about him. Some people say he was born in the 1690s, whereas other people believe he was around during the birth of Jesus. One thing that's certain, he has appeared a number of times throughout history when he should have been dead. For example, it was 1760 and Saint Germain was invited for a soiree at the home of Madame de Pompadour, the mistress of King Louis XV of France. Now the Countess was shocked when she met him because he looked exactly the same, which was impossible because she met the Count in 1710 in Venice. When she met him, he was 45 years old. He shouldn't have been alive, but there he was and he had not aged a day. She was totally in shock by this, as anyone would be. Over the next 40 years, Saint Germain traveled all throughout Europe and never aged a day. Most recently, in 1972, a man named Richard Chanfray claimed that he was the one and only Count. He even went on to turn lead into gold on a camp stove to prove he was this legendary Count with magical powers. So due to the fact that this dude has magical powers and never ages and seems to be immortal, people believe that he is in fact an alien.
Number 10. James Webb and the Big Bang. Okay, here we go. We'll kick off with some recent news. The James Webb Space Telescope has of course been blowing our minds casually for a couple years now. Since his departure up into space back in 2021, James Webb Space Telescope has been showing us these beautiful displays that we never dreamt of ever seeing. Stars so faint and so far away that until this point, well, we had no idea they were even there. For example, last week the James Webb Space Telescope found new, well, rather old galaxies that look like tiny red spots. Now, by analyzing the light emitted by these galaxies, astronomers can conclude that these galaxies were born 500 to 700 million years after the Big Bang. Now, these galaxies shouldn't be this old this far away, considering they were born so soon after the Big Bang. Doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't be there. Shouldn't be that old. It's like seeing your grandma younger than you somehow. You're like, no. Timeline-wise, that shouldn't make any sense. What in the Avengers is going on? Are these aliens before the Big Bang? We have no idea. This was a week ago. Comment your thoughts down below. I think it's aliens for sure. Number 9. Ancient Sumerians. Alright, we'll go old, but not as old as that red dot. The Mesopotamian civilization was formed in what's now Iraq and Kuwait. Now, these civilizations began around the Neolithic Revolution, so somewhere around 12,000 BCE. Now, they're sometimes referred to as the cradle of civilization because, of course, they're old. Mesopotamia was one of the first places to develop agriculture, being right in the middle of Egyptian and the Indus Valley civilizations. And of course, we have to mention these ancient Sumerian tablets. Now, in these tablets, we start to question history. In 1842, British archaeologist Austin Henry Layard discovered ruins of this royal archive. Thousands of tablets made of clay. The world's oldest overdue library books, pretty much. Now, these tablets showed Sumerians engaging in a social night with a scene that depicts a banquet from around 26,000 BC. It was the world's first bender, actually, if I'm being historically accurate. Ancient gods of Mesopotamia were said to have wings and the ability to control all of humanity. These gods were 8 feet tall, or they could have been aliens from another planet. Again, we don't know. Could be gods, could be aliens, could be neither. Drawings of a very tall man, like me, who knows. The Sumerians wrote one of the oldest tales in human history. It's called the Epic of Gilgamesh. So maybe these alien gods inspired them and inspired literature. Who knows? I'd probably write a book if 8 foot tall winged gods landed on my crops for sure. I'd write a journal or two. Number 8. The Madonna with Saint Giovanni. Alright, going back to some art for this one. In our history, even in our ancient history, there have been writings and paintings of the, well, potential extraterrestrial variety. As one example shows, the 15th century painting, the Madonna with the Saint Giovanni, depicts the Virgin Mary. Also, in the background of this painting, features some sort of hovering disc-like object that looks, well, it looks a lot like a UFO. No? I don't know. I can't really describe this. This isn't the only example, however, as we've seen other sorts of otherworldly beings in ancient cave paintings and other Sanskrit scrolls. There are even some people who swear that it's also written in the book of Ezekiel. Aliens are pretty OG. It certainly says something that potential alien sightings have existed since, well, that far back in our human history, so it must either point to proof of alien existence or just humans being obsessed with conspiracies of alien existence. I'm on the latter side. I really want aliens to be real, but I don't think so. I don't know. Number 7. The Nazca Lines. We've all heard of alien crop circles at one point or another. I remember watching the movie Signs when I was younger, and, well, then I couldn't sleep for 28 years. That's awesome. That birthday party scene? Never again. Thank you so much. Yeah, that scene. Remember that one? So scary, right? Aliens. Just 200 miles southeast of Peru, we can find hundreds of markings etched into the earth. Now, they're massive pieces of art, almost like crop circles, but, you know, without the farming stuff. More intimidating, more, you know, stone. The biggest ground graffiti spans over 1,200 feet, and you've probably seen it, hopefully not. Many believe that this was an ancient ritual for water. Given its location, well, that theory certainly checks out. Another theory written in 1968 in Eric von Daniken's book, Chariot of the Gods, suggests that ancient Nazca Lines was a site for ancient alien visitors. Like a landing pad almost. Airport, there it is, one of those. Leaving behind knowledge in the form of these massive doodles and, well, technology. Number 6. The USS Nimitz. Alright, I couldn't imagine a worse place to find alien life than in the middle of the ocean. Ugh, that's creepy. Although I will argue that an octopus is completely alien. That's messed up. They shouldn't exist. November 2004. The USS Princeton is a part of the USS Nimitz strike group, and they noted this craft, a UFO, a UAP rather, that's what they're calling them now, UAP. Now at first they saw this craft not in the sky, but under the sea, which is interesting because the Go Fast video that we've always been looking at with that thing whipping through the air seems like it's coming from the ocean. The ocean is very unexplored, so there could be a plethora of aliens just waiting down there. Who knows? I certainly hope not, but who knows? A few moments later, this white tic-tac shaped alien craft came out of the water, and a white tic-tac shaped UAP, always egg-shaped in history, that's always a fun sign. Then two FA-18 fighter jets were flying above it, and as earlier reports put the egg 80,000 feet above the water, so of course that's when they had to fly in. They saw it fly up, whip through the air, and then again, they saw it dip into the ocean with no exhaust, no infrared, didn't pick up anything, nothing like that at all. It just shot away at 3 times the speed of sound, loop, underwater, gone. Can aliens go underwater too? That's a little bit OP, it's not fair. Number 5, Oumuamua. This one here has scientists and Reddit users all fighting alike. So just a few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it Oumuamua. It was widely agreed upon that it was an interstellar comet that had somehow swung out from another star and ended up near us at a very high velocity. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling this and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started. A.V. Loeb, who is a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail. A light sail is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that could be accelerating this, space cigar. Other scientists didn't agree with this, fair, I mean more than fair, and instead they believed that this is possibly the hydrogen ice could have been melting off the object in a way that would mimic a rocket or something that can propel it in nature. But in August of last year, AV wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. So really don't know what's propelling this massive space cigar. So we think aliens. Do I think aliens? Maybe, I don't know, I'll never tell. Number 4, Flaming Thing, Texas. I just watched Nope the other day, and the idea of aliens in Texas or aliens over top of a farm, that birthday party scene with the dude walking, it always gives me chills. I don't like it. Aliens love a good crop, apparently. Imagine opening the newspaper though in 1957, and right on the front cover you read, "Levelin' Flaming Thing brings world knocking at city's door." What does that even mean? How do I react to that? Back in 1957, in of course Levelin, Texas, multiple eyewitness reports began to flood in about an egg-shaped object, again an egg-shaped object, or this circular flash of light. It was just jetting across Levelin skies. One witness recalls the object making a loud humming noise as it flew by, which is different than other accounts that we've heard about, flying eggs in history. But this egg shape keeps coming back up. But this is an encounter where it's been reported as loud with a great rush of wind, which is, again, very different. Believable, but different. It was a loud egg as opposed to a quiet sea egg. On top of that claim, the witness's car radio began to go haywire as it passed. The radio thing isn't too crazy. I mean, growing up, my computer speakers would always tell me if a text was going to come in, so it was so odd. I have no idea how that works still to this day. The Air Force ended up commenting on it. They said that this was just a phenomenon caused by electrical storms and not a space egg passing by. But do we buy that? Is that why we're here right now watching this video on Most Amazing Top 10? Giving it a thumbs up, subscribing? We want to believe in aliens, right? Let's do it. Let's move on. Almost there. Number 3, Europa. One of Jupiter's many moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it. And in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that this tinge, this little might be possible that alien microbes are responsible for this reddish color. Again, we saw life way out in the galaxy that was also a faint red, so red means dead? I don't know, red means alive? Who knows? The surface of this moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and or compounds to make that data make any sense. They're like, something's red and there's life. Well, I don't know how science works. That's my best impersonation of science people. There's some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have that red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for this color on the moon. Sort of space bacteria, ice bacteria, whatever. There's something living up there. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where these are all located. Some geological activity on the moon could push them closer to the surface, where they then flash frozen in place. So they're warm under the water, then they go, huh, and they freeze. That's a horrible way to go out. Little space bacteria. Number 2, O'Hare Airport. A UAP spotted in the airport. Worst place to see it, in my opinion. Are you sure it wasn't an airplane? Heard there's a few over there. The day was November 7th and the year was 2006. Flight 446 was gearing up with passengers and luggage, of course, ready to fly to North Carolina from Chicago's O'Hare International Airport. But the flight was a tad delayed due to the hovering metallic craft hovering above all the planes. Yeah, can't really take off when that shiny ball's in the way. 12 United employees parties and others were just there to fly out. It was 4:15 p.m. so it wasn't at midnight, nobody was tired, nobody was delirious, it was clear as day. It was a business day otherwise, and everyone saw this. Witnesses watched it hover for around 5 minutes before it eventually zipped off back into the sky. It even pushed through clouds, so people say it wasn't a balloon. This report was one of the most read stories on the Chicago Tribune's website. I mean, of course, it's about aliens, but eventually it was deemed a weather phenomenon, because why, of course it was, wasn't it? The UFO was not seen on the radar, or any radar for that matter, so now we're just gonna go off what people said that many years ago. Although last week we saw 3 balloons and have no idea what they were, so we'll never find out at this rate. And finally, number 1, 2021 UFO. February 21st, 2021, a blogger was using a radio scanner to try and pick up the feed from an aircraft, but they received much more than they ever expected. They intercepted the transmission of the wrong aircraft, but at the right time, it seems. As an American Airlines flight was headed from Cincinnati to Phoenix around 1:20 p.m., the pilot came on the radio to ask a question. Do we have any targets up here? Also, what an odd question to ask while you're flying. The voice continued, we just had something go right over top of us. Now after this, he followed up with, I hate to say this, but it looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing moving really fast over top of us flying.
Starting off at number 10, we have the theory that octopuses are aliens. Okay, I know that sounds hilarious, but okay, just hear this theory out. So, ancient astronaut theorists believe that octopuses are some sort of version of an alien. So we all know that back in the day, tons of meteors crashed down on Earth. Well, they believe that the meteorites that crashed into the ocean from space actually contained some sort of organic material. Now, this either infected some sort of water species or allowed the material in the meteor to evolve into an octopus. So really, octopuses could be composed of alien DNA. Now, to support this theory, they mention that octopuses are actually quite gifted. In fact, they are known to play pranks on their human viewers. They also have different genomes than squids, which are said to be closely related to them. And they can change color. They're just a really weird species. So, what do you think? Could octopuses be a form of aliens? Moving on, at number 9, we have the theory that ancient Egyptians were in contact with aliens. That's right. So there are 2 main points to this theory. One is that the pharaoh Akhenaten was actually an alien himself. So ancient Egypt was known to be polytheistic, meaning they believed in multiple gods. Then Akhenaten comes around and he declares that they worship only one god, the sun god. Now, why would Akhenaten out of nowhere just declare this? Well, the answer may be in the carving of the sun god Aten. So Aten is depicted as a disc in the sky. What else do we know that is a disc that flies through the sky? UFOs and their spacecrafts. So they are convinced that he was in fact in contact with aliens who gave him the message that said that they should only be worshipping them. They also believe that Akhenaten may have been an extraterrestrial. So in all of his depictions, he is seen with an elongated face and head, a long neck, small ribs, and a protruding belly, while all the other pharaohs looked majestic and muscular. What is also weird about this is that he claimed that all of his carvings had to be accurate and representative of him. So that means that he truly looked like that. Meaning he looks an awful lot like an alien. Coincidence? I think not. In our 8th spot, we have Osiris the robot. Okay, again, this theory is a little more on the sillier side, but they do back it up with some solid evidence. So Osiris, for those of you who don't know, was an ancient Egyptian god. He was actually killed by his jealous brother Seth, who tore his body into 14 pieces. Now, Osiris's wife ended up collecting all of those 14 body parts, and she put them back together and resurrected him. Then after he was resurrected, he was depicted looking kind of like a pillar, which they claim looks like a modern day Tesla coil. So Osiris looks like a machine and got perfectly pieced back together. This has led them to believe that he is indeed, sounds weird to say, but a robot. Sorry guys, I don't agree with you on that one, but if it's true, then that's terrifying. Coming in at number 7, we have the geoglyphs. So geoglyphs are large drawings or symbols that people create on the ground and can only be seen fully from up above. Now, ancient astronaut theorists tried to figure out why citizens would do this. I mean, they aren't easy to create, they are quite time consuming. So why would people spend hours making these with no incentive? Well, they theorize that they are using these to get in contact with extraterrestrials. When analyzing these geoglyphs, they found repeated symbols used worldwide. They use a lot of symbols like spirals or even a star-sun cross geoglyph. That particular geoglyph is seen in mandalas in Tibet and India. This glyph is also so complicated, yet other people are making it seem like a universal language that was once used to contact aliens. Moving on to number 6, we have the Van Allen radiation belt. So the Van Allen belt surrounds Earth and basically acts as a protective force to block out any radiation from coming into Earth from charged space particles. Without this belt, then any space item that enters Earth could expose us to deadly radiation. So these theorists believe that the Van Allen belt was made by aliens to protect them from other aliens during an extraterrestrial war. They even say that the belt can change and mutate, almost as if it's being directed by a creature of higher intelligence. So this belt does not only protect us from radiation, but also against attacks from hostile aliens. Throughout time, there has been reported UFO crashes onto Earth. But how could aliens be that high tech and not be able to control their spacecraft? Well, that's because the belt was specifically designed to keep them out. So basically, Earth is at the center of an extraterrestrial conflict, and some of the aliens are protecting us. We are now at our 5th and halfway mark with the resurrected mummies. Mummies can be resurrected. You heard me correctly. Bodies of deceased Egyptian pharaohs and other individuals can potentially be resurrected. Okay, I can tell you several reasons why this would be a bad idea. Like, don't they watch the movies? So the way that Egyptians have embalmed bodies has preserved them and allowed them to survive for thousands of years. These theorists believe that if they find a complete set of blueprints for an ancient Egyptian body, then they could potentially regenerate their DNA. They also believe that the ancient Egyptians were aware of this. The extraterrestrials told them of this process, and that's why they had these specific preservation techniques. They believe once they figure out how to resurrect individuals, then they will be able to move between the living world and the world of the afterlife, where they will be able to encounter aliens. So basically, once we harness this capability, it will unlock all the answers we need surrounding aliens. In our 4th spot, we have humans are the aliens' test subjects. So this theory began when ancient astronaut theorists realized that most of the alien abduction stories were identical. In fact, more than 60% of the abductees had the same rare blood type, Rh negative. They believed that this played a factor in their abduction. So if you had this blood type, good luck, you may be abducted by aliens. So they believe that for years ETs have been meddling with human DNA. In fact, they point out how we evolved from Homo sapiens to Homo sapiens sapiens in a short time frame. They also think that ETs had something to do with this, and now ETs are still trying to mess with our DNA when abducting people. They are trying to take us to a more extreme form. No thanks, and now I need to figure out what kind of blood type I am. For number 3, we have Earth is a big test lab. Yes, theorists believe that Earth was just a big laboratory for the ETs to conduct experiments on. This includes forming hybrid creatures. Now, hybrid creatures are seen all throughout mythology. In ancient Greek mythology, you have Cerberus, the 3-headed dog, or the centaur, half horse, half man. In Hindu mythology, you have Naga, half cobra and half human. There are many more examples of mentioned hybrid creatures. So you can either believe that these are just stories, or maybe our ancestors actually saw these creatures. But then they also theorize that the ETs were responsible for the Great Flood. They wanted to wipe out these hybrid animals and start again. Now, aliens are still conducting experiments today, but this time focusing mainly on humans. In our 2nd spot, we have the ET's DNA. So this theory surrounds the idea that humans contain a shared gene with aliens. They go on to prove this by highlighting cases of people born with strange features, like how there are over 100 reported cases of people being born with tails, or people that have ichthyosis. They were born with dry, scaly skin, or even syndactyly and ectrodactyly, which is people born with fused fingers and claw-type hands. So they believe that humans once commingled with reptilian-type aliens. As a result, we carry their genetic makeup. These circumstances could be an instance where this shared gene has tried to resurface. In fact, our genes are made up of so much stuff that we still don't understand, so it may just be possible that we have the slightest bit of alien in us. And in our number 1 spot, we have John F. Kennedy. So this show theorizes that John F. Kennedy, the 35th President of the United States, was assassinated because he was going to expose the truth about aliens. Okay, this hasn't been the first president who have claimed that the government has been hiding alien secrets. Just like how apparently Richard Nixon hid a time capsule in the White House that contains proof of extraterrestrials. So for this theory, someone found a half-burned document in a fireplace. It was supposed to be completely destroyed, but they pulled it out and saved it. Now, this document read, "You must know Lancer has made some inquiries about our activities which we cannot allow." Lancer was the president's Secret Service name. It basically said that if he kept doing what he was doing, then it should be wet. Wet was code for assassinated, because wet was often associated with blood. But that's not all. So there was a man named E. Howard Hunt who was an officer of the CIA when Kennedy was president. One of Hunt's close friends ended up asking him why he thought Kennedy was assassinated. He said, "Because he was about to give our most vital secret to the Soviet Union." When he pried further, Hunt said, "Alien presence." So there you have it, folks. The government knows about extraterrestrials and is going to extreme lengths to keep it from the public. They even went as far as to kill their own president.
Starting us off at number 10 is the Madonna with St. John. Dating back to the 15th century, this iconic painting is arguably one of the most debated depictions of alien life on Earth. Likely painted by Domenico Galileo. I mean, there is debate there too, but that's another story. However, as you can see, it depicts the Madonna with baby Jesus and St. John. However, if you zoom into the top right corner, you'll notice something very strange. There is an unnamed man shielding his eyes from what looks like a bright light in the sky, and beside him is a dog staring up at the same shining object. The object appears to be strangely similar to most modern depictions of a UFO, painted as a dark oval with light rays shooting out from every angle, and has definitely been the subject of much debate among alien believers and non-believers for decades. Now, it wasn't unusual for the time to paint angels or other celestial beings brightly shining down on us from the sky, but as this specific painting appears to have no such addition to the light and is simply a strangely specific flying saucer, it has led many to believe that the painter was depicting a real-life alien sighting. And truth be told, it wasn't the first time such things showed up in artwork, and it is also not the last. Could it really be a UFO? I don't know, you tell me. Coming in at number 9, coins. During a house renovation in Egypt, a group of workers say that they found 2 coins that had very unusual portraits on them. The first they found resembles the head and shoulders of an alien, while the other looks more like it depicts an alien spaceship landing, and they immediately freaked out. Plus, one of them apparently had the words opportunus adest carved on the back, which is Latin for there is an opportunity, which definitely comes across a little spooky. I won't lie, there's a lot of debate around the validity of these coins. As many have pointed out, the coins could have easily been manipulated by believers, but it has been countered by the fact that either way, there's no actual concrete proof that they don't come from aliens. I mean, I have some questions. Would aliens even use currency like us, let alone physical currency? I honestly have no clue, but I mean, if I came across these coins, I too might be just as suspicious about their origin. Coming in at number 8, the Second Punic War sightings. During the Second Punic War, which occurred in ancient Rome between 218 and 201 BC, there were apparently many sightings of strange sky phenomenon that today believers claim were aliens coming down to Earth. These alleged sightings were found in the Annales Maximi, which is essentially a historical record kept by the chief high priest during the Roman Republic, and in it is the tale of a day in 218 BC where ships that apparently gleamed in the sky came out of clouds and stayed floating in the sky. And I mean, I don't blame anyone for jumping to an alien conclusion on that one. Then 2 years later in 216 BC, a similar sighting was documented where large gleaming round shields allegedly traveled through the air. Conspiracy theorists have clung on to these writings, pointing out how both descriptions can easily be imagined as the common UFO described in our modern era. Plus, this war was not the only one in history to claim such things happening in the sky. I mean, just like everything else on this list, will we ever know if the writings in the historical historical record really were an alien sighting? Probably not, unless we can figure out a time traveling situation, but it is a little suspicious, I would say. Coming in at number 7, Egyptian hieroglyphs. There's a lot of debate around alien involvement in ancient Egypt, and aside from the eternal debate of if aliens helped build the pyramids, hieroglyphs depict just about the most suspicious signs of extraterrestrial help. Now, I'll be the first to say that I don't think all hieroglyphs point towards ancient alien invasion, but that doesn't mean that there aren't a few that raise an eyebrow. One in particular is a hieroglyph appearing to show the Egyptians in possession of electricity, which, if that were true, feels like a surefire sign that they were not alone down here. The tableau depicts what appears to be people holding an electric lamp or maybe a light bulb, and believers have not wasted any time adding this to their Rolodex of reasons. And it's not just electricity that ancient Egyptians may have possessed, but other hieroglyphs seem to portray other forms of advanced technology that, in theory, they would have no way of knowing about. Hieroglyphs with a spooky resemblance to helicopters or planes have been found and gone viral, only adding to the mystery of how on earth this could have been something they would possibly know about. Could it be that aliens came down and gave them knowledge to advance their technology? Could the alleged airplane drawings be a UFO they saw in the sky? Conspiracy theorists say absolutely. Coming in at number 6, Dagu. Not every sign of alien life has to do with a UFO sighting. Sometimes the signs are a bit more subtle. Dating back roughly to between the years of 14,000 and 400 BC, ancient Japan was known for crafting small human-like statues out of clay called dagu. These statues usually measure between 4 to 12 inches, and while the exact reason for their construction remains under speculation, there are two main theories. The first is that dagu were created as part of an ancient healing and fertility ritual, which could very well be true. However, the second one is a little more intriguing as it involves aliens. Now, if you take a look at these statues, they don't just look like a normal human statue. They have a strange, bulbous sort of look to them with large beanie baby eyes and kind of appear to be wearing what some have described as a stylized spacesuit. That, along with the helmeted head, has created a ton of speculation around if they were in fact modeled after aliens who visited ancient Japan and made contact with its inhabitants. I suppose we might never know for sure, but it's definitely an interesting theory. Coming in at number 5, Wandjina. For a long time, a lot of indigenous culture was passed down orally through stories. One of these such stories from Australian Aboriginal mythology talks about spirits named the Wandjina, and as they tell it, the Wandjina came down from the sky and created the earth as well as all of its inhabitants. Then, when the spirit found the place they would die, they painted their image on cave walls and entered a nearby watering hole. These paintings were then refreshed by indigenous people as a method of generating their life force. But what is intriguing about this tale in particular is that these spirits are depicted all over in the form of ancient rock paintings and appear to date back about 4,000 years. Plus, around the heads of the Wandjina are lines or blocks of color seemingly depicting lightning coming out of their helmets, which I mean is definitely a little suspicious. And many believers have been quick to point out the acute resemblance to the description of greys given by alleged alien abductees. If you don't know, greys are pretty much the classic depiction of an alien and are thought to be one of the extraterrestrial races, with UFOologists claiming they make up about 40% of reported abductions and sightings in the US. But could greys have come down, created life on Earth, and then disappeared into the night? I mean, maybe. Who knows? Coming in at number 4, a flaming shield. Similarly to the Roman historical report, other cultures too recorded significant happenings, and the Annales Lauricenses Maiores, which recorded much of history between 680 AD and 829 AD in what is now modern-day Germany, is definitely filled with some mysterious and interesting stories. One tale in particular took place during the time where battalions of Saxon soldiers were attacking, and it details as the attack progressed, suddenly a bizarre object appeared in the skies overhead. The potential UFO was described as the likeness of two large flaming shields, reddish in color and appearing as though it was floating in the skies above them. Apparently, the object was so frightening that the advancing Saxon army abandoned the fight and retreated back to safety, something that would have been incredibly unusual for them. Now, the only hole to poke in this is that the author is unknown, but it is widely accepted that writers of the time would record events as they happened, and that these stories would be compiled at a later date into the finished work. So just because we don't know who wrote it doesn't mean we don't know for sure it didn't happen. Coming in at number 3, lizard people. One of the wildest conspiracies out there is the belief that there is a race of half human, half lizard people that are taking over the world. Now, I will admit, this one is a little trickier for me to get behind for several reasons. However, after finding out about this piece of the puzzle, I am definitely a little curious. Although the conspiracy wasn't popularized until the 1990s, in the beginning of the 20th century, archaeologist Harry Reginald Hall made an unsettling discovery that definitely brought up a lot of questions. The archaeological site in question is referred to as Tal al-Ubaid and has served as a gold mine for ancient artifacts. However, by far, the strangest uncovered artifacts have to be the multiple series of lizard humanoid statues found by Harry in 1919. From what archaeologists can deduce, they don't appear to represent gods, as they aren't depicted in ceremonious poses, and so it has led many to believe they could be early depictions of the race of lizard people. I mean, I won't lie, these little statues are super creepy, and maybe one of the only times the lizard people theory has got me feeling a little suspicious. I don't know, do you think these figurines really could be proof of the evil lizard race invading the planet? Coming in at number 2, an alien mummy? Mummies are everywhere in Egypt, so while they are definitely interesting, they rarely cause any kind of huge excitement in the archaeological community, unless it's a particularly special one. Well, as I'm sure you've put together at this point, a few years ago, Dr. Victor Lubeck, who was a retired professor from the University of Pennsylvania, uncovered a strange mummy that made him question what he was seeing. Discovered in a small pyramid near Senusret II's pyramid was the mummy of a small, unidentified creature with seemingly no resemblance to that of a human body or known animal. To make things even more strange, buried along with the humanoid mummy were unusual objects Victor was unable to identify. What was clear was that whatever this was mummified with great respect and care, and an inscription was found on the tomb that roughly translates to star or sent from heaven. The running conspiracy theory is that it was an alien who was involved in some way with advising the pharaoh Senusret II, which would explain his royal treatment and careful mummification. I mean, it's definitely unsettling and absolutely an unusual find, but is it an alien? I mean, I guess it could be. And last up today on our number 1 spot, the Sumerian civilization. The ancient Sumerians were a group of people that suddenly became established in Mesopotamia circa 2900 BCE. No one is quite sure where they came from originally, but there is a general conspiracy that is well documented that their origins were not from planet Earth. According to a series of ancient texts, the Sumerians were created by an alien race called the Anunnaki, who came to Earth after their planet Nibiru collided with another planet in the solar system. The aliens found themselves in a short supply of gold and saw that Earth was in high supply, so they landed here and supposedly created a new species that was half alien, half human to mine the gold for them. Now, it does sound a little crazy, but the Sumerians did have advanced scientific, agricultural, and technological knowledge, as well as an acute understanding of the solar system, which was highly advanced at their time. Researchers have recorded clay pot batteries that still contained electrodes, a flyable model airplane, as well as an unexplainable capability to cut large stones with exact precision. Not to mention, similarly to the Egyptians, Sumerians seemed familiar and depicted drawings of rockets, airplanes, and helicopters on certain artifacts from their time too. And if that didn't make you even just a bit curious, they have also discovered mitochondrial DNA evidence linked to a woman in Africa dating more than 100,000 years ago near a gold mine. While of course we might never know for sure, the legend of the Anunnaki has made even some of the biggest skeptics question the reality of aliens.
Starting off this countdown, we have Mark Zuckerberg. Rumor has it that Mark Zuckerberg is an alien or a lizard person. Let me explain. In a number of interviews, people noticed that Mark Zuckerberg barely blinks. It's true. I've seen videos and this dude must have like some watery eyes or something, cause he blinked like once every minute. He just sat there with his eyes wide open, looking like an alien. Then people went on to say that he wears contact lenses to hide his yellow lizard pupils. Maybe that's why he's so smart, because he's an alien. Either that or he's a robot or something. His weird mannerisms has everyone spooked. Conspiracy theorists are adamant that he's going to take over the world and destroy democracy. It's crazy. Coming in at number 9, we have Jeffrey Bezos. I'm sensing a theme here, okay? People like to think that rich, powerful men are aliens. Jeffrey Bezos, CEO, entrepreneur, born in 1964, is another individual that might be an alien. Also, that was a reference to Bo Burnham. I love him. His song, Jeffrey Bezos, go check it out. Not only is he very intelligent, but people have been studying his mannerisms and think there's something wrong with him. Take a look at this.
But that was actually not supposed to be a bad pun. And then disclosure, you are...
Is it just me, or is his laugh undeniably creepy? He keeps his eyes wide open and locked on his target while laughing. Also, it seems forced. Maybe aliens don't have any emotions, so he has to force himself to laugh at jokes so he seems normal. I don't even know what to think anymore. Also, side note, someone deepfaked Jeffrey into a Star Trek episode, and let's just say I'm now scarred for life.
Is this a deception? Do you intend to destroy yourselves?
Moving on to number 8, we have Alien Barbie. Ukrainian woman Valeria Lukyanova is known as the human Barbie doll. She's got an impossible tiny waist, wide doll-like eyes, and a big bust. In fact, to achieve this look, she had some of her ribs removed. But not only is she a real-life Barbie doll, but she also claims that she's a time-traveling alien. Yes, you heard me correctly. This woman claims that she's not human. She said that she's an alien that has come to Earth to save the world. Little late for that. But what is she saving us from, you ask? Well, she says negative energy. Okay. And she has a goal to transform humans into demigods. I mean, that's cool. I want to be a demigod, so sign me up for that. She also has claimed to be a breatharian. She says that she lives off of nothing but light and air. So maybe she really is an alien, because it's physically impossible to live off of just light and air. Like, you need food and water. Coming in at number 7, we have Grimes. Grimes might just be an alien, and so might be her partner, Elon Musk, but more on him later. But how cute! 2 aliens came from space and connected on Earth. That's what I call destiny and true love. Anyways, if you follow her, then you know she's quite the character. And just recently, she got alien scars on her back. Or at least that's what she calls them. They're just a bunch of light-colored lines that she got tattooed on her back. But maybe aliens actually have tattoos or designs like that on their backs, and she knows something that we don't know. I mean, there's a huge conspiracy out there that Grimes is an alien. Just search on Reddit and you'll find a number of people who believe this theory. Moving on, at number 6 we have Poppy.
Hi, it's me, Poppy. Hi, I'm Poppy.
Poppy is an American singer, songwriter, musician, and YouTuber. She is known for her very unusual videos where she talks in a very soft and high-pitched voice. Is this just her persona or stage act, or is she an alien? Now, there's so many different theories surrounding her. From being part of the Illuminati, to being created by the government, to being a hologram, to even being a robot. I'm telling you, there's tons of theories out there. But a more popular one is that she's an alien from space. Most of this is based off of her mannerisms in her videos and the fact that we hardly know anything about her true self. One video that really started this theory was one where she reacts to a Fine Bros video. In this video, she cited every single word that was shown from her older videos. And she did this without showing any emotions, and without even acknowledging the kids that were reacting to her. It's very weird, to say the least.
Hi, I'm Poppy.
You're freaking me out.
I wanted to see you.
What the heck?
Thanks for coming down here with me.
We're now at our 5th and halfway mark with Steve Buscemi. And I just want to start off by saying that he's an amazing actor. Like, totally underrated, and I'm so happy talking about him because, also fun fact, we share the same birthday, so I just feel this connection to him. So Steve, if you're watching this, I want to be your friend. Anyways, people often judge Steve based off of his looks. I mean, I think he was on the list of like ugliest people in Hollywood or something like that, which like, that is mean. How did they get away with that? That's super hurtful. Lists like that just shouldn't exist, okay? But anyways, due to his unique appearance, people think that Steve is out of this world. They think that he's an alien or a cryptoid or something like that. There's even a bunch of memes out there making fun of Steve, saying that he's an alien. I personally don't think he's one. Like, if we're judging based off looks, that's just mean. He's a great guy. But I still put him on this list for all you people out there that think that he could be one. Watch him actually be an alien. I'm like defending him. In our fourth spot, we have Tilda Swinton, who, might I add, is another incredible actor. Tilda's range is unbelievable. She is unrecognizable in some roles. Like, she goes from playing the White Witch in the Chronicles of Narnia, to the Ancient One in Doctor Strange, to Thora Thacker in Hail Caesar. She's just so versatile. And that's why some people think that she's an alien, because the ease in which she can transform her appearance and look like a completely different person, or the ease in which she can change her personality and behave like a completely different person. I mean, I just call that good acting, but then other people are like, aliens! Also, people think that she's an alien because she has a unique appearance. Again, let's not judge a book by its cover here. It seems like the people trying to behave normally are the ones we should be concerned about, okay? In our third spot, we have Bill Gates. I wish I had the amount of wealth that Bill Gates had, and now he's single, so Bill, hit me up. Just kidding. You're too old for me. Anyways, according to some people, Bill is an alien. How come aliens always have to be the richest people? Like, seriously, you got Mark, you got Jeffrey Bezos, and now Bill. How come all the alien dudes are rich? Anyways, the main reason why people think that he's an alien is due to his advanced knowledge on computers and technology. So aliens are supposed to be highly advanced creatures. They created highly advanced spacecrafts to travel throughout space and to Earth. Maybe Bill was sent from space to help advance human life. And then he liked it so much here that he decided to stick around. Or maybe he got too famous and was like, oh crap, I can't just disappear from the public eye. They're gonna wonder where I went. And now he's kind of stuck on Earth against his will. Moving on to number 2, we have Stephen Colbert. Honestly, he's the last person I would think to be an alien. But that's a good thing, right? It means that he's being stealthy about it. It's always the people you least expect. So a woman named Liz Brown came up with proof as to why she believes Stephen is an alien. Her first point is his intelligence. She said, and I quote, "A recent report showed that viewers of the Colbert Report are more well informed about political and social issues than viewers of legitimate news programs on ABC or CNN. Most alien experts agree that our interplanetary friends have a level of intelligence far beyond human capabilities. Of course, this could also mean that regular Colbert Report viewers are being groomed for abduction." End of quote. Imagine that, Stephen using his show to gain fans and then abduct them and use them in tests run by aliens. The next point she made is his immunity from diseases. She said that she has never seen him get sick. She said, and I quote, "What kind of regular human beings can consume Bud Light Lime on a regular basis on air and still not get sick?" End quote. She's kind of got a point there. She then also went on to talk about Stephen's love for space. In 2009, he made a public campaign telling his viewers to vote for the new treadmill on the International Space Station to be named after him. Why did he want this so badly? Well, it could be that this was a way to send a message to his alien friends out there, telling them like, we did it, I'm in control of the humans, this is proof. Crazy, isn't it? Makes you really think. And in our number 1 spot today, we have Elon Musk. Why does Elon Musk want to go to Mars so bad? Honestly, he just wants to return to his home planet. He has announced a number of times that he wants to retire and die on Mars. He probably hates it here on Earth and is dying to get back. Let's look at more evidence. This dude invented the Tesla, like he's super intelligent. First off, he got into the electrical vehicle business, which only represents 0.1% of all cars sold. Looking at that, it would seem like a bad thing to get into. But nonetheless, he did, and he succeeded. Why? Because he's got alien capabilities to not only see into the future, but also create high-tech things, like Teslas. Someone else added that his end goal is to save Earth. He's seen into the future and how bad global warming gets. So he's trying to reduce global emissions through his cars. Maybe make them cheaper then. Not only that, but on a number of occasions he has tweeted out some suspicious things. Someone tweeted at him asking if he was an alien, and he said, obviously. So he just admitted it, okay? I know he's just joking, but still. Another time he tweeted saying aliens built the pyramids. I mean, he was probably one of the aliens there building them alongside the Egyptians. In the end, everything he is doing on Earth is to save us, and then, help himself get back to his home planet.
Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have the mysterious beam. Pretty recently, scientists explained that they captured a mysterious beam of energy that was coming from the star that is the closest known star to the Sun, Proxima Centauri. This star is small and low mass and is located around 4.2 light years away from us. The thing about this star is that it has one rocky exoplanet that is 17% larger than Earth in its habitable zone, which would make liquid water a possibility on the planet. This planet's habitability has been disputed throughout the years, but this signal could be a sign that it may be even more habitable than any of us know. Scientists explained that the signal shifted while it was being observed, which mimicked the shift caused by a movement of a planet. They're taking extra precautions to figure out what exactly caused this shift in case it was some sort of mundane source. It will, of course, take some time to figure out, but it's all very exciting. In our number 9 spot today, we have the Venus cloud. Last year in September of 2020, astrobiologists everywhere were excited and skeptical of some new potential evidence that had been found in the upper clouds of Venus. Firstly, can we just take a second to really think about how cool of a job an astrobiologist has? Anyway, the new findings were pointing to the potential of the presence of phosphine in the clouds. Phosphine is a rare and usually poisonous gas that on Earth is basically always met with the presence of living organisms. Venus hasn't really been top of the list of choices for finding potential life due to its surface temperature and pressure and the sulfuric acid clouds, but this evidence could prove to say something otherwise. 2 separate telescopes were able to pick up the signatures of phosphine in a cloud that had a similar temperature and pressure to Earth, and while this isn't concrete evidence of space bugs, it will at least be a reminder that we should be continuing to look for life even in the most unlikely places. And hey, maybe it is space bugs. In our number 8 spot today, we have Uma. Okay, so this is one piece of evidence that actually has scientists fighting over what is going on with it. So a few years ago, scientists all agreed that we had found an object that was flying through our solar system, and they called it Uma, and it was widely agreed that it was an interstellar comet that had swung out from around another star. But upon closer examination, they realized that something was propelling it and causing it to accelerate, and this is when the debate started, because they just don't know why. Avi Loeb, who's a Harvard University astrophysicist, proposed the idea that rather than a comet, this could be an alien probe that is being pushed by a light sail, which is a very wide but extremely thin piece of material that accelerates by being pushed by solar radiation. Other scientists didn't agree with this and instead said that it's possible that hydrogen ice could have melted off of the object in a way that would mimic a rocket engine or something of that nature, but in August of last year, Avi wrote in a study that hydrogen ice is too easily heated and it would have melted off long before it reached our solar system. I guess we just have to wait it out while the scientists debate and gather more evidence to really know what's going on behind this one. In our number 7 spot today, we have the NASA Viking experiment. This is one of the more debated ones on today's list, but that does not mean it isn't evidence. In 1976, NASA's Viking landers tested the soil on Mars and found some chemicals that could be attributed to signs of life. The soil was mixed with radioactive carbon labeled nutrients and then tested for the production of radioactive methane gas. The test ended up receiving a positive result, which could indicate that something in the soil is metabolizing the nutrients to produce the gas. Despite further efforts, there still hasn't been any life found, but one of the scientists who worked on this original project, and others as well, stand by what they found and argued that the technology at the time wasn't advanced enough to find the key evidence of life. Hopefully with the new Perseverance rover that landed recently, we'll be able to find the signs on Mars that we have been looking for. In our number 6 spot today, we have black holes. When we think of black holes, we usually think of how absolutely terrifying they are, but that may be changing. There has actually been the discovery of a planet that is floating around a black hole. The forces around the hole are also providing heat for the planet as well, but there is one catch, and that is the fact that the planet needs to orbit at the speed of light. This would mean that a second on that planet would be hours on ours, which is kind of difficult to comprehend. The planet would have to be in what is called the Goldilocks zone though, because if it's too far from the black hole, it'll be too cold and there won't be any liquid water, but if it's too close, it will of course be sucked into the black hole by the gravitational forces. It's definitely a pretty crazy idea, but it is possible that there could be some life in this situation. In our number 5 spot today, we have fossilized microbes. Another piece of controversial evidence that came from Mars was announced in 1996. NASA scientists announced that they had potentially found what appeared maybe fossilized microbes in a lump of Martian rock. It is likely that this rock came off during some sort of Mars collision and just casually floated around the solar system for 15 million years before landing in Antarctica in 1984. Just casual space stuff. After analyzing the rock, it was revealed that it contained organic molecules and small specks of mineral magnetite, which is sometimes found in the bacteria on Earth. And upon further analysis with an electron microscope, it was claimed that there were signs of nanobacteria. Since then, some claim that the magnetite wasn't that similar to those found in bacteria, and there is a belief that the signs of nanobacteria could have been grown in a lab. In our number 4 spot today, we have UFO footage. Remember last year when the Navy released footage of UFOs, but we were in a global pandemic, so we didn't really have time to freak out about it? Well, let's freak out about it now, because what the heck was captured on those videos? The US Navy released footage last year where they had captured video of some sort of wingless aircraft that was traveling at hypersonic speed. Of course, people are wary to believe that this is true signs of alien life and alien visitors, but the thing is, we simply just don't really know what this is. We know it's not something that is known to us yet, so this could definitely be a sign of some sort of alien life, and I guess we'll just have to wait and see. In our number 3 spot today, we have this bacterial experiment. So we've talked a bit on today's list about how we tend to think of life only being able to exist on other planets that are similar to ours with a similar atmosphere within a certain distance of a star, but we've also discussed how this more narrow thinking might not be the best scenario. On Earth, most living creatures require oxygen to live, but the problem with a lot of planets is that there's far more hydrogen and helium. Last year, scientists decided to take 2 different bacteria. One was E. coli, which can be found in the guts of humans, and ordinary yeast, which is used in things like bread and beer. With these 2 bacteria, they tried to see if they could live in different environments. When placed within flasks that contained either pure hydrogen or pure helium, they still managed to grow, just at a slower pace. This evidence goes to show that there might be living organisms that we haven't found yet because we are just looking in the wrong places. In our number 2 spot today, we have the fact that they might have died off. This one is a bit disappointing, to be honest, but it basically is just a theory that it's probably pretty likely that there were aliens at some point, but since the universe is so old, they might have already died out. All life and cultures rise and fall, and researchers put together a model last year that would give more insight into the likelihood of this theory. They took things into account like sun-like stars that are not too close or too far from planets that are similar to Earth, as well as how frequently there are deadly radiation blasting supernovas, which of course would prove to be a huge problem for life forms, as well as the time that it takes for intelligent life to evolve, provided all the conditions are right. And once the evolution has taken place, how long would it take for a tool-bearing form of life to then destroy itself? That's a lot of factors to consider, and through all of this, it was found that the highest likelihood of life before ours in the Milky Way emerged around 5.5 billion years ago, which would place that before our planet was even formed. This, of course, would have provided plenty of time for all of the events I just mentioned to have occurred. I hope this one isn't true, because I really do hope that there are aliens out there. In our number 1 spot today, we have Europa. One of Jupiter's moons, called Europa, has a red tinge to it, and in 2001, NASA scientists revealed that it's possible that alien microbes might be responsible for the red color. The surface of the moon is mostly ice, but it has been shown that it reflects infrared radiation in a bizarre way. This means that something is binding it together, but researchers haven't been able to come up with the correct combination of elements and compounds to
make the data make sense. There are some bacteria on Earth that can thrive in extreme conditions and that also have a red and brown color, which could potentially be responsible for the color on this moon. The surface temperature might be too cold for them to survive, but the warmer interior might be where they are located. Some geological activity on the moon could then push them closer to the surface, where they are then flash frozen in place.